All right, I think it's live now. All right,
well
ready when you are.
why, as a young person, they should avoid
This is so weird. This
How you talk about it will change as your child grows. But the important thing is to talk about it. Not just once for an hour when you think
No,
the
we're
time
live.
is
Yeah, that's
right,
good. All right.
but in 60 one-minute conversations and more that are part of your everyday talks. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
The following programming is sponsored by Thomas Toole III. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Good afternoon, Greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And there was a lot of news last week coming out of the White House with mortgage-backed securities, ban on institutional investors, a jobs report. We're going to talk about how all that's going to affect housing in Q1. And there is a ton of development news along the main line. Very surprising with a couple of these spots here. We'll unpack as well. And we've got a killer new listing launching on Friday in Jenkintown for $1.6 million. We'll explain to you at the end of the show here. So if you get some value out of this or you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team and Sarah to talk about all this federal government news and how it could affect your real estate plans, just click on the link right in the comments. She has many happy clients who've connected through the radio show here. So, Sarah, what did you think about, before we get into like the all the things President Trump's talking about, what was your initial reaction here out of all this housing news coming out of the White House? This is very uncharacteristic from the federal government.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, one thing that just kind of like is hard to like picture, I guess, is like when you're talking about such large amounts of money, like, you know, 200 billion, it's just like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting that there is, you know, some stuff in the works that people are talking about it. And especially coming off of rates coming down last week, that was very exciting. So just kind of interested to see where all this goes and how long it takes for things to, for a plan to get made.
Sure. And I think what you said there is so important, the plan, because right now there's no plan. This is like an idea almost. Yeah. So why don't we start with the first piece of news that came out, which was on Wednesday, President Trump announced plans to ban large institutional investors from buying single family homes, which would be now this one, I think you got to take with a grain of salt. That's my opinion. But they talk about, companies that are going out and buying all these single family homes. And he's basically saying that, hey, you can't do that anymore. We're going to ban them. What do you think about this? I mean, was this even news? What's your reaction here?
I would say it's like headline catching, but what it actually does for things, not much, because the percentage of these institutions that actually are purchasing the single family homes like don't make up a large amount of them. And he didn't go on to really define what that is, or like who would be banned. Like he gave like a umbrella name, but it's not really clear as to like who would really be banned or what like the thresholds would be.
So you're absolutely right. And to give some perspective, it's a very small number. It is the research is like less than 1 to like 1.1% of all single family homes are owned by institutional investors. So, this is something that, the facts are Wall Street's not buying as many homes as you think. And these investors are also landlords that could pose a problem for rentals. And there is a need for single family rentals. Mm-hmm. So if you ban them from buying, you're cutting the supply of rentals. And, I think the fundamental issue here is that there's just not enough building going on in the first place. But it's such a small number. This is one of those things, like you said, it's like great, like, okay, sounds good in theory, but in practicality, I don't think this is going to make much of a difference.
No, I mean, I think it sounds very positive, right? And sounds like, oh, great, this is going to be, a solution for people. But really, what it actually injects into the growth and everything is, I don't think, going to be very significant.
I think the hardest thing is going to be actually the rental supplies. What's going to get hurt the most here, because there are some people that and some companies, they'll build like entire communities, not so much here, but in other parts of the country, that they're designed to be rentals. And if they're not building those, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. So I wouldn't get too heated up about that one. Now the second announcement, this one we're going to go a lot deeper on. Then on Thursday, and I'm going to read the Truth Social post here. This is just insane. If you I don't know if you've read these, but I mean, I can't read the whole thing. I'll start laughing. But President Trump announced that he is instructing his representatives to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds. And the comment was this on Truth Social, that I'm going to cut to the chaser because this is like a whole paragraph long. Because I chose not to sell Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in my first term, a truly great decision, and against the advice of the experts, it is now worth many times that amount, an absolute fortune, and has $200 billion in cash. Because of this, I'm instructing my representatives to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds, that's mortgage-backed securities. This will drive mortgage rates down, monthly payments down, and make the cost of owning a home more affordable. It's one of many steps in restoring affordability, something that the Biden administration absolutely destroyed. We are bringing back the American dream that was destroyed by the last administration. Make America great again. So, insane comment here about how to announce this. Although he's right that there is a lot more money in there. What do you think about the? Now, I'm curious. I got some questions, but what do you think about President Trump's representatives buying $200 billion with a B in mortgage-backed securities? What do you think about that? And what is this going to do to the market?
Is that something that that typically the president tells people to do?
He can do this.
He can,
so
okay.
This is very different than like changing the laws and like he can absolutely do this, and he has the ability to, for sure.
Well, I guess in past times has something similar to this happened?
I mean, I have to look it up. I mean, there definitely have been, buying and selling of these mortgage-backed securities does happen, for sure. But I don't know at this level.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with the amount of dollars that we're talking here, if he says for this to be done and it is done, I mean, that's enough. This isn't like a small amount of money that's not going to make a difference. Like, I would think this would be enough that it would kind of move the needle on some things.
This would bring rates down in the short term. I'm pretty clear about that, because the mortgage rates move with the bond market. So, and this gets like a little murky for the average person. Like, they don't really understand what this all means. The White House, the Federal Reserve, they do not set mortgage rates, to be very clear. So when demand for mortgage-backed securities rises, prices go up and yields fall, and that pulls mortgage rates lower. So they're spending this money to increase the demand. That's the idea with the $200 billion. And the Fed has done this before. There was a January 2026 Urban Institute report. And what they explained how the system worked before and after the great financial crisis. So for years, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were the buyers of the last resort in the market, stepping in to profit from widening spreads between the 10-year and the 30-year fixed mortgage. And it put some comfort, comforting on mortgage-backed securities volatility, and that obviously brought rates down. So the Federal Reserve bought $1.25 trillion in mortgage-backed securities between January 2009 and March 2010, right during the Great Financial Crisis, and they bought another $823 billion between 2012 and 2014. And when markets froze in 2020 because of COVID and the pandemic, mortgage spreads they widened because of that. So the Fed has stepped in and bought more mortgage bonds in 1 month than they have before. So what this is going to do, I mean, there's limits of this plan since spreads have kind of normalized a little bit, but it definitely could bring rates down. I mean, I think it'll be a short-term fix. I don't think it's going to be something long-term.
Right. Did he give any indication of like when he would want this to happen? Or
I think
he's saying like, go ahead and do it?
This is one of those things where it's like, what's the plan? I think we're kind of in the same boat as the previous story. And, I look at it as you're probably going to see some short-term relief here.
Yep.
Because $200 billion is not, it's not the same as some of the other numbers that were bought. And What he's really trying to do is trying to move the mortgage spread, which is the gap between the 10-year Treasury yield and the average 30-year fixed. And the highest the spread has been was June of 2023. Also, some of the highest rates that we saw was 2.96 percentage points, or 296 basis points. The long-term average since 1972 was 1.76 percentage points. So it's significantly lower. You're looking at a 1.2 percentage points lower. And by the end of last year, the spread compressed down from 2.95 to 2.05. So it's a little closer to the long-term average.
Okay.
And to me, it looks like the idea is to compress the gap by injecting more demand into the mortgage bond market. I think this could bring rates down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be as low as they'd like to see them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would think for the consumer out there, your best bet would be to kind of, if there is going to be a window where you get a little bit of, mortgage relief here for a minute, like you'd want to be ahead of that and on top of it, because it probably, like you said, is not going to be a long-term solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, knowing that it's not a long-term solution, I mean, look at what happened this weekend, right? Rates hit like 5.99 and they were back up to like 6.06 on Monday. So if you had someone that bought a home over the weekend, it worked out pretty well for them. You got a little bit of a lower rate. That's how volatile this is going to, and it's not volatile. I mean, you're going 5.99 to 6.06. I mean, that's 0.07 of a point, but it's a little higher, right?
Yeah.
And I
think it almost in that case, like for people who bought over the weekend, it's more like I got it in the fives, even though like dollar wise, it may not be, a crazy huge difference.
And I agree with you totally there. And I liken this to, remember the buyers that bought either during the Pennsylvania state shutdown or like right after in like May and June.
Yep.
What was what was their mindset going into those purchases? Or because it wasn't the sellers, it was the people that bought at that time before the market went like this. What was their mindset and what was your reaction to those decisions they were making? Because I look at these as very two similar moments in time.
Yeah, I mean, what was interesting is I feel like the people that moved forward and, did what they had to do to get the house, in the moment, it may have seemed a little bit scary for them because we were kind of, suddenly that's when we kind of started like waiving different things, doing different things to kind of make offers stick out and have, ours selected, as well as, having to go competitive on pricing and all of this. But after the fact, like for anybody that I talked to afterwards, if they secured that home at the price they got it at that interest rate, they were thrilled, especially seeing where things went afterwards. And just such a difference in both the cost to get the home and what it was going to cost to your monthly payment as those interest rates started ticking back up.
And that's exactly right. And I look at this as kind of that first mover advantage again, because people are going to look at this plan and be skeptical. I think people were, if you look at their mindset coming out of the pandemic, I mean, there was people that were ready to transact. I bought a home before the shutdown, and it was like one of the best financial decisions I've ever made. And it was risky. Like I couldn't even work. Like, what am I going to do to earn money?
Yeah.
My wife thought we were crazy. Worked out beautifully, but that was, you want to be a buyer when other people aren't. And if you see this happening now, and we'll see what happens with rates as we head into the spring. It's the middle of January right now. This could be that first mover advantage again if you're really looking at the market closely. That means you need to watch inventory, watch competition, be ready to act quickly.
Right.
That often is probably the most important thing before the crowd jumps in. And every year there's people that buy homes in January and February and March that avoid that spring rush, and it usually works out pretty well for them. There's a little less competition. They can negotiate. And if you sit down and really think about this, there's always 10 or 15 case studies every year where someone made the move that everyone else was afraid to. Like they bought a home in December and negotiated things. They got it under the asking price. And if you look at these announcements here, I think this is going to give some short-term relief. I don't think we're going to see like rates come down like any lower than maybe like 5 3/4 best case scenario. I still don't think we're going to see much movement there. But if you can save some money and you're going to be there 20 years, like that's a win all day long. So I do think this is smart politics coming out of the White House because he is talking about housing because it's such a pain point.
Yep.
I don't think either one of these moves are going to be as impactful as the headlines make them out to be.
Right.
And a short-term solution would be great in terms of rates, but there's not really like a long-term fix for affordability here.
Right. I think where people kind of need to be at is in the short term. Like if you're looking, if this is like, if you're planning on, in 2026, like this is the year I'm going to purchase a home, get your ducks in a row, get out there. And when the right home comes up, like hopefully it's when if there is a little bit of a dip, but we talk all the time about how you can't time the market. So if the right home comes up and you're like, oh, but maybe the rates will dip a little bit more, like that home may not be there anymore. So unless if there are a lot of homes that are kind of checking all the boxes, your best bet is typically to secure the home. And if it happens during a little bit of a dip, amazing. But the best thing you can kind of do in the meantime is start like doing what you can now to get everything ready to go so that when the right home, if the right home comes up and it is during like, if you get lucky and it is during a little bit of a dip, that you're able to make it happen then, because this isn't going to be a long-term thing. And as if you're ahead of it a little bit and you've got everything ready to go and you can kind of take advantage of a little dip or an opportunity, you want to be in that position before everyone else floods in, because as soon as that happens, whatever edge you were kind of hoping to achieve by what was going on in the market there kind of offsets.
The other thing to think about here, these are the first couple announcements. There was in one of the statements, the first of many initiatives, and it's right here. I'm sorry. It is one of my many steps in restoring affordability. So if there's more to come here, this could be a good start to a plan. Well, hey, we got some short-term relief and then some long-term relief.
Yep.
We've said this before about capital gains tax. And the limit on capital gains for home sellers. Do you know that limit was established in 1996 and it hasn't changed? Right? Think about what you were doing in 1996. Right? I mean, I was in high school. Like so that number hasn't changed at all. But the average price of a home is up like 3x since 1996. So that would be something I think would actually spur some sellers and some inventory here. I think that would be really smart. If this is the one of many steps, and I think it's a good start, but there's got to be more. This can't be the whole plan, or it's not going to really help with affordability.
Right.
So we got some other news here, Sarah. I didn't even put this in the show sheet here, so we'll get a raw reaction from Sarah on this. I don't know if you saw this, but there is a threat, of an indictment for Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell that this happened over the weekend, and there is talk of there was an indictment that was filed and a federal investigation. The DOJ subpoenaed the central bank and is threatening a criminal indictment. President Trump has, I'll tell you, President Trump has said he has nothing to do with this, which, who knows? So they served the central bank with subpoenas over his testimony in the summer about the Fed's building renovations. And we talked about this before he went out, where they had the $2.5 billion renovation of 2 office buildings that the president and the White House have criticized as excessive. This is very interesting here because I think both sides kind of play politics a little bit when it comes to this impending split of Jerome Powell, and obviously his term's going to be up, and we know how the president feels about him. So, what do you think about this? I mean, this is just more pressure on the Fed. I don't know if this is like a scare tactic or not.
So Trump's saying he had nothing to do with it?
Yes, that's what he said.
Interesting. I wonder, like, if this was like a long time coming. Like, it seems like the timing seems, I don't know, a little bit interesting to come in and serve that now. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. I think it's just more noise, and there's rumors that there might be a replacement named this month. So, they have a couple meetings left. His term's up in May, and if you look at the predictions right now, We got the next meeting coming up in 2 weeks. There is a 97.2% chance we see no movement on the federal funds rate, which I think they're going to hold and kind of monitor. And we got a jobs report that was kind of like a good news, bad news jobs report, which, payrolls rose 50,000 less than expected. Unemployment fell. So you see like jobs come in less than the estimate of 73,000, but there's less people unemployed. It's down 0.1%. Earnings rose 0.3% for the month. So it's kind of more mixed signals coming from this jobs report, which tells me that the Fed's probably going to keep things where they are. This whole thing is that we're seeing such attention to housing and affordability. And this is really a pain point for a lot of people. And I think this is something we haven't seen from the Fed for sure, or an administration. And I think it just underscores how consumers are really feeling right now, because there's so much pressure on them. I mean, who knows about this indictment? I mean, politicians lie all the time. So who knows? Like, we have no idea.
Would that be the most, I guess, effective way to get him out before May?
I don't know.
Trying to happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if he just quit at this point. Like,
I guess he can.
I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll find out. There was rumors that he might resign at like the last meeting, and there was. I mean, obviously the White House has been putting pressure on him. What I see here is an administration focused on housing, and hopefully there's more to come. Like I said, actual real things to do here.
So, is there like a prediction of who would replace him?
There's a couple candidates that are out there. I mean, there's Scott Bessent was one. There's who's the other one here they're talking about? I mean, I don't really, it's kind of like when your team fires their head coach. You like kind of wait to see who gets named as the people they're interested in.
Yeah.
I haven't followed it too much. And, we'll see. I mean, there's, obviously the president looked to fire federal governor Lisa Cook, and she actually sued to keep her job. I mean, there's been a lot of pressure on the Fed here. So I don't know. Yeah. So my question for you is this. We talked about all this government stuff and what's going on. First movers paying attention to the market's important. In light of all this noise and seeing rates tick down a little bit, what do you think this means for consumers right now? If you're thinking about making a decision, Q1, Q2, Q3, what advice do you have with all this noise around federal federal government initiatives to improve affordability?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we want to be aware of. It's something that we want to be able to like factor in if we can. But, trying to time it perfectly is very tricky, especially for like, is the home that you would like to get into and make this huge investment for going to be available at the time that, that things come into play here. So just kind of like getting out there, being prepared, keeping an eye on what is, coming soon and hitting the market. And I mean, my best advice is like kind of move on as normal, like go do the steps that we normally recommend you do when going through the home buying process. So, meet with agents, get informed, figure out your budget, figure out like different strategies. And I don't think any of that changes regardless of what's coming down from Washington. But certainly, being aware of what's happening and if we can use that to our advantage, absolutely. But I think that the same steps that would always be the order that I would recommend to go in would still apply.
I could not agree with you more. Don't deviate from the plan. Everyone tries to like outthink what to do. Now, what I would add on to is do this stuff now, right? I mean, we met with a client on Friday, and the first thing she said was, it's not too early to start planning. Like that was like the whole theme of the meeting. And, we're very big on like getting the right steps in place up front. And I've never seen a consumer, whether it's a buyer or a seller, be upset they planned early.
Right.
It's usually the other way around where it's like, why didn't I know this? I should have done this. I should have done that. And if you're listening to this on YouTube or the radio or the pod or wherever you're hearing this, just talk to somebody about what your plans are, even if it's like 12 months out, because you recently went through a home purchase, and there was a lot to it. I mean, like renovation loans and all that. And if you didn't have a plan, it would have been kind of a disaster, I would have imagined, right?
Right.
Think about the clients we've met with where we sit down and actually walk them through. Here's what to do.
Mhm.
it takes all the stress out of it.
Right.
Now, it's stressful making decisions,
Sure.
but they're not trying to understand what's happening. And that's the big miss for a lot of consumers. They don't know what to do next. People do this every 11, 12 years. So
Right.
I would watch inventory, watch competition, pay attention to rates. There's a lot of people that had no idea rates dropped last week. And just get all your ducks in a row. Like, get the house cleaned up, start decluttering, get your finances in order. I think that's really the steps you want to take.
Yeah. Like, I've never had situations where people were like, man, like, I wish I would have left more of this to the last minute.
Yeah.
Like, you want to feel in control of situations, and there are things that you can do well before you're ever like pulling a trigger or signing paperwork, that does just take some of the stress out of it. And it's not common to meet with somebody and then have them like find the perfect home or be ready to list, and everything just like bam, bam, bam happens within the course of a few weeks. Like, it does take time to work through all of these steps. And a lot of times it takes more time than what you think it will. So
100%.
Because if you're kind of at a stage where you're just like perusing through and seeing different properties, and it's like, oh, there's so much great stuff out here. Like, yes, when I'm ready, this will all still be here. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that have to happen. And I've never had people be upset that they were not in a time crunch.
Can you imagine if someone got upset at you for preparing? Like, it'd be like, what are we talking about here?
Right,
So,
right.
But it's so many agents just want to get you into the house, or they want to come over and like, I got the for sale sign, but there is so much work involved. I mean, I'm thinking about a mutual client we were just talking about. That's years in the making.
Mhm.
And that's just how it is when you're making these decisions. So proper preparation is going to really help you here. And the more you can get some advice from people that know what they're talking about, the better off you're going to be. It could be 6 months out. It could be a year out. That's all good, because there's things that have to happen when you're selling a home or when you're buying a home, and life events usually are a driver there. So, a lot of, and I'm hoping that some of this stuff actually comes to fruition. Like, if there's more to coming out of the federal government, this would be a real boon for housing. Hopefully this isn't where the plan ends, and there's more to come. Like things like we talked about, like capital gains getting adjusted, working on affordability. Maybe there's some grant programs and other things. There's a lot that can be done there for sure. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. There is some major real estate in play along the main line in Radnor Township as well as Lower Marion Township. Kind of shocking to me. And Sarah and I live by both of these places here. So we're going to talk about it next and explain what it means if you're on the main line and you're thinking about buying or selling next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Fix this frame
By
here.
that I really mean Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, even Florida. Look no further. You can visit the Sutera team at Cross Country Mortgage. We are local Pennsylvania lending experts with loans that fit nearly any
Whatever's going on with this
home buying
streaming software seems to have fixed
situation.
itself
We've
since
got
last week.
Good.
That was stressing me out.
Oh my
loans,
gosh.
No down payment.
Next time I'll have you do it. I'm sure it'll go. You'll be like, throw the slides out to the window.
Yeah. Did you try telling it how stupid it is and hitting it yet?
Once I get past the unplug and reset and like kill the app, I'm pretty useless.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
Right behind you. That is me, DJ Sutera, and my business partner.
I think the
Kyle
one
Sutera.
article-
We've got you covered.
Good. It's not behind a paywall. It's on the Inquirer side. I was a little worried about that.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com.
So for the Gladwin one, residents seem to be mixed,
The Tom Toole
kind
Sales
of.
Group is the number one
Apparently.
RE/MAX team in
I
Pennsylvania.
go to that grocery
with
store that
over
way all the time. Like, that's like- it's like 7 minutes from my
$165
house.
million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team
It's so
has
like-
achieved that kind of success
I'll save
by
for the
being
thing. I
a
did
great
it.
place to work
There's like nothing going on there.
No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but
So
more
many
importantly,
pop-ups.
we're real people. We hire
These
the best
websites are
agents,
horrible
and we
because
give
it's all
them
the local
tools
news. They have
to
some. The only way
succeed.
they.
Even our
There's
brand
so
new
many
agents
freaking
sell
ads on
17 to
Yeah.
24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor. Because this isn't a transaction to us. It's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com.
Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole. I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally.
Brendan's like so upset.
Our
She's
agents love us
"I'm
because
hanging
we
out with
offer
that
them
kid
a
again."
successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable
like
culture.
rolling around on the
Agents
floor.
who've been with us for at
and,
least
like,
a year
like,
average 30
called
plus
the magician
sales.
idiot.
Even
And
our
I'm like,
brand
dude,
new agents average
I have to like
17
correct
to
this kid.
24
Like,
sales a
I'm
year.
like,
We offer
he's a
proven
maniac.
systems and
Yeah.
expert
And
training.
then with
Was she
We help
happy
you
with
set
the
more
magician, or was she like
yeah, I
so
mean, well, I was
bummed?
like so stressed. These
Now,
fucking
here's the
idiots.
offer.
Like they were like,
If you don't have a
oh
real
well,
estate
can't go
license
tomorrow.
yet,
And I'm like,
we
what
offer
am I gonna do with
real
those
estate
kids?
scholarship.
Yeah.
Like,
So
this is
you
a
can
nightmare.
get one
Oh,
for
because wait,
free.
was the Nerf thing like
Check
a
it out
company
at
that comes in?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no. And then so he came. Maybe he was the man. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then
Get more out of your
Which
real
was like the
estate
time
career,
these two
and
kids
remember
were
the
like
real
going nuts.
estate
They're
golden
like
rule.
getting
You
snappy
always get
necks
more
and stuff.
when you
Cool.
work with
Yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
I'll tell you what. Sound like a horrible person here.
All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And there is some serious development happening in some main line real estate that probably everybody knows if you live in either one of these areas. And we're going to talk about how it might impact you and your plans next. So if you get some value out of this or you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with Sarah to talk about your needs in either one of these neighborhoods or in the greater Philadelphia area, you can do that with the link right in the comments, and she will get you all the information that you need. So 2 areas on the main line are being talked about for development right now. And these are not like some open space that's going to get developed or some like old building. These are well-known locations. I guess the first one we'll start with is downtown Gladwin. So, there's Jeff Yass. He's the richest man in Pennsylvania. What a title.
Right.
I mean, that'd be richest man or woman. I would take either.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that'd be great. So he has a plan to redevelop downtown Gladwin. So he is the CEO of the design firm, or the CEO of the design firm Holden House. His name's Andre Golsorki. He is working with Jeff Yaz and his wife on redeveloping a half dozen properties in Gladwin. They've got historic architecture. There's some green spaces, bringing in some new businesses. The Yas family spent over $15 million acquiring all these properties. Now, Gladwin Village is not very big. I mean, it's there's if you know where McCafferty's is, that's like the old Acme that was there. There's like a Shell station.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of the Union League has the Guardhouse restaurant there that's been there forever. There's like the Gladwin Market. Like there's not a lot going. There's a pharmacy there. I mean, it's kind of like small town. And so there was they bought all these properties, and the development plans were unveiled to the public for the first time last week. And there was obviously mixed reviews. I think no matter what gets developed, by the way, no one ever likes it. Like it's always like there's some people that like it, some people that don't.
Yeah.
And some thought it was great. Others questioned why they were pouring millions into a project with apparently no financial gain. So the short of this here, and I'd love to get your take, and just to give you some perspective, where this is located is right on the intersection. It's right off Conshohocken State Road. So if you're coming from like obviously Conshohocken or up that way, this is like Youngsford Road, Writer's Mill. There's an intersection there. It's not a huge area. I mean, it's and then there's the Gladwin Park, and there's a Lower Marion Park there. It's very close to Gladwin Elementary School. So it's right at the intersection basically of like Youngsford, Writer's Mill, and Conshohocken State Road, just to give some perspective. Not far from where we're sitting right now. So the proposal involves keeping the historic architecture while bringing in new retailers, opening up green space, and increasing connectivity in the villages like downtown Cork. There's a lot of traffic goes through there.
Mm-hmm.
They want to expand the local cafe homeroom, keep the Gladwin Pharmacy, and they want to court new businesses that fit the character and are contextually, relevant to the town. There's no plans for residential development, no national chain stores, no high-rise buildings, and basically, I mean, it's not that they just want to bring in some new businesses there and revitalize it. So, to give some background on Yaz, he's the founder of the Bala Cynwyd-based Susquehanna International Group. They've lived in Haverford for more than 40 years. So they got a plan to redevelop downtown Gladwin, and there's a lot of business. There was like a Gladwin market that recently closed. It's kind of like a deli sort of place with like some groceries, and they want to have this like open green space, like picnic tables, that sort of stuff. They're going to keep the pharmacy. They also want to bring in like the appropriate sort of restaurant that could be there, because obviously the guardhouse is private. You have to have be with a member to get in there. And he's bought buildings like the U.S. Postal Service that's there, because that's the Postal Service has changed how they've deliver things. Not like an active post office as much. Everything goes through the Valley Forge office.
Okay.
What do you think about this? I mean, it's a lot of people are just questioning what this guy's end game is, and they're a little unsure. And then we can kind of unpack this a little bit here.
Yeah. So I mean, if he's like locally from, if he's from this area, I can see why he would want to, put some money into revitalizing it a little bit, because then he kind of has some control over how it goes. So I'm also like, I'm not surprised that they're not bringing in any chains. This is like a high end area where I feel like they would want to. It almost reminds me a little bit of, I don't know, what's another like very like high end like town, kind of like something like out in the Hamptons or something like that,
Sure.
where they don't,
Yeah.
where like you're not having a lot of like large chains, huge shops. It's like high end boutique-y, like local. So I, and if they're going to be revamping some buildings that otherwise weren't, so like the post office building, was that just like a vacant?
Well, it was a post office, and now that they've taken a lot of distribution, and it goes through Valley Forge. So it's not like a lot of these smaller post offices. They've changed the way they deliver mail now.
So they're gonna like repurpose that building into something else. Yeah.
Yeah. So he bought a couple buildings. So one was the OMG hair salon, which is right down the street from the True Value and the Gladwin hardware store. The Gladwin Market. I mean, there's been a couple buildings that he's purchased, and he spent $15 million. That's a lot of money. So all of these were purchased, and he bought them up to redevelop them. Is the idea. Now the owner of the Gladwin Market said he kind of felt pushed out, and that was and he was a tenant there. The OMG salon, they said the building's new owners more than doubled the rent last fall. He bought the post office. So, I mean, there's a couple different buildings, but there's really like 10 buildings in this area to begin with. I mean, and then you have the grocery store there.
Right. So, yeah, I guess it would be interesting to see if he already has an idea of, I mean, he had mentioned like, a restaurant or whatever, but if he has an idea of what types of retail or like, and if he would be, so if he wants them all done in a specific way, or like everything to kind of look, he wants to keep like the historical feel. Would he be, because, a lot of times if he would, for people, if you are going to have tenants in and they like for stores, there's certain things that have to be done to the properties to like accommodate the type of business. So if he would already like kind of have that plan in place and know everything, how he wants it filled and what types of businesses, or if businesses will come in and like kind of bid to try and get in.
So here's what the people at the Holden House said, and at the first public unveiling. So they're going to keep the homeroom and the Gladwin pharmacy in place. The developers plan to put a casual but elevated and approachable restaurant in the former Gladwin market site. It makes me laugh when I hear this stuff. They're going to recruit independent retailers like bakeries, boutique fitness studios, and ice cream parlors. So this kind of sounds like the Shore, right?
Yeah.
Like go down like kind of like Ocean City or Avalon, probably more like Avalon in this case. But it like you said, it's going to be these high-end local retailers that are relying on the customer base coming from local people around there. I mean, I do like the idea of like a restaurant that's in there, because there's really not a lot of. I live 7-8 minutes from here, and I go to McCaffrey's all the time when we want to buy certain stuff. And it's like there's a lot of people, mutual client of ours has said the same thing, who used to live in Gladwin. I'd love there to be like a restaurant or somewhere I could go around here, because Gladwin's really off like the main drag and the main line. It's not very close to Lancaster Avenue. You're closer to 76 in a lot of cases.
Right.
So a lot of this does make sense because there really is like a downtown there, and it's not a big one. It's more like they call it a village. I think a village is a good way to look at it.
Yeah. I have a feeling everything will be like super high end. And kind of just tailored for the location that it's in.
So do you like the idea, Sarah? Tell me what you think.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So if you were a business that felt like you were pushed out from there, I can certainly understand like how that doesn't feel good. But kind of coming in and being able to have an overall vibe and having everything look like it fits together and goes together, and bringing in new businesses and maybe taking over some underutilized space. I feel like that would be great for the residents. And I don't think it's something that would also like all of a sudden create a crazy amount of traffic. Like it's just kind of like redoing what's there, making better use of the space, kind of bringing it up. But I don't think it would be an issue of like now traffic's going to be insane.
I agree with you. I mean, the grocery store there is, I like the grocery store there. I think it used to be an Acme that was vacant. Now they brought in McCaffrey's, which is kind of like Wegmans Light, if you will. Like it's a little bit of a higher end grocery store. So that would fit in with the village theme there. I mean, selfishly, some people like someone or you're a member at the Union League can get into the guardhouse, so you don't have this problem. But there's a lot of people that aren't, and I having that sort of stuff there, I think would be good for Gladwin. Sometimes people don't have a motive. Maybe, I mean, if this guy's the richest man in Pennsylvania, maybe he just wants to improve the community. So, and I think there's businesses that could thrive there if they have the right business plan. I mean, that's the Gladwin Pharmacy is packed anytime you go in there. So obviously that really demonstrates that there's just not a whole lot else there. So I like this for Gladwin. I think communities need to be more open-minded to having them evolve, because it's going to bring more people to want to buy there. It's going to help home values. It's going to bring some additional jobs, even like jobs for your kids and that sort of stuff. So I like everything about this here. I think this is a good move for the community. The other piece of information here, this is more in your neck of the woods, Sarah, is Radnor Township at their first meeting announced plans to acquire 14 acres of land. The first meeting in 2026, not the first meeting. Plans to acquire 14 acres of land owned by the Valley Forge Military Academy in Wayne to limit development. The academy's closing this year. It covers 70 acres. Eastern University is going to be buying the portion on the Tredyffrin side, because it sits on both townships here. And if they can't work out a reasonable solution, they're going to use eminent domain when the government will take property. So at their first meeting, the board of the year, the board approved a motion to begin eminent domain procedures with the goal of preventing more development in the area and coming to an amicable agreement. So what do you think about this one here? This is obviously big news.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting, because I think there has been like right on Lancaster Ave in Wayne, there has been like a lot of development going on there, and then like back behind there are a couple like new neighborhoods that have been being developed, because I think it also had mentioned in here something about like keeping traffic under control and all of that, which it can get pretty backed up. So I think it's kind of nice to be able to keep some green space, and like at some point when would there never be a possibility of them then building on it? Or I guess it would depend on like kind of how they set it up, or then it would be up for like debate.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought this up, because Savvy Main Line, this is it's a blog here about the main line. I thought they did a really good job on January 6th. The writer over there who put this together, it's Carolyn O'Halloran. So she did a whole post on this, and there's this gym in South Wayne. It's called the Supilzio Gym, which is basically like a rec center for the township. And they had planned to put like a lot of like renovation money in there, but the township doesn't own the building. So the idea being floated is that they're going to create a township park and build a rec center to maybe supplement or replace this gym. And if you've seen like a rec center, I mean, I think that can make a lot of sense. And their preference is to come to terms with the Valley Forge Military Academy rather than just take it over. And the Valley Forge Military does want to sell because, I mean, they're broke. I mean, they're shutting down the academy anyway. So, and they have been approached by developers to sell it to them. I'd imagine, I mean, but you're not going to build anything affordable there. That's going to be like
Right.
$2 million starting price for those
Right.
properties,
Yeah.
especially where it's located in Wayne. Like that North Wayne location is pretty incredible. So, this could save the township from sinking a lot more money into this gym that they don't own anyway. And they only have like 2 basketball courts there. The parking kind of stinks. So they want to build something that's a little more friendly for use of a rec center, which I can appreciate. I mean, having kids have gone through like township little leagues and that sort of stuff, I think that's a good
Right.
thing.
Yeah, I think it's good. And I think, reserving that space and keeping it kind of like open and protecting it from other development coming in, while all the other development kind of like, I don't want to say like sinks into the community, but until you see how all of like the traffic patterns change, and like it's kind of better to like do things a little bit slow there and make sure that everything makes sense before like running into other problems.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a need for this stuff too. I mean, if you have, like basketball leagues, right? Like, I mean, all kinds of sports. My kids play all this stuff, and gym space is like a problem. Like my daughter recently, she's playing basketball, and her practice got canceled because the school got a better offer to rent out the gym because she was playing at a local elementary school. And so, I mean, this stuff happens, and youth sports can be a really big plus for a lot of communities. So I think it's a good thing overall. I mean, look, I'm all for building housing if it's affordable or if it makes sense. But taking the Valley Forge Military Academy and turning it into another $2 million plus neighborhood, I don't think it's going to make a lot of sense for a lot of people. So, and they talked about the pricing on this. This is pretty interesting, and then we can talk about this new listing we got. So the 14 acres is adjacent to the other portion of the Valley Forge Military Academy that Rockwell Development bought for Oak Hill at St. David's, which is a luxury life care facility on Eagle Road that's going to overlook the golf course. And they paid $500,000 an acre for 23 acres. So that's kind of the price that's been set here. That's a lot for an acre. Now, obviously, it's in Radnor. It's in a pretty good spot. I mean, you're right off of, you're right by Radnor Road and North Wayne and all that. So I think that makes sense. I think that's kind of where the township probably sees their purchase price, but I'd imagine a developer would probably pay more.
Right. Yeah.
I think at least. I mean, it depends if they're building single family homes, right? You figure the lot acquisition cost is typically 1/3 of the out sale, depending on the engineering.
Yep.
I mean that's the thing you kind of wonder about here. I think that's probably why they used eminent domain, because that's going to protect them and protect their interest.
Right. I agree.
So what do you think about this? I mean, do you like this idea? You don't live far from here, so
yeah. No, I like it. I think it's a good plan. And yeah, I mean, you need a place for all of like the youth that's in the community to be able to do sports and to do all of the things that often drive people to these type of communities for. So, I like it.
All right. So we've got one new listing hitting on the market. I mean, this is big development here along the main line, by the way. These are like 2 like stalwarts, like Valley Forge Military and downtown Gladwin. Like it's I don't think anything's going to happen here for Gladwin. I think has a shot to be done sooner because he already owns the buildings. This is probably like 6, 7, 8 years at best. So don't think it's happening tomorrow.
Right.
People in Radnor, just to be very clear. So we got one new listing hitting the market here. This is a pretty incredible property. It's on Washington Avenue in Jenkintown. And this is not your typical property you're going to see in Jenkintown. This is a 7,000 square foot home.
Ooh.
It's a big one. Built in 1800, and it's got some pretty incredible land that comes along with it. You've got a 2.62 acre lot. So Washington Lane, I shouldn't say Washington Avenue, Washington Lane, excuse me. So it's 630 Washington Lane in Jenkintown at 1.6 million, 7,000 square feet. This has 6 bedrooms, 4 full, 1 half bath. And when you hear Washington Lane, I mean, that kind of gets a little bit of traffic, but I've been to the home. I've been in the property. you are off the beaten track here. You can walk to downtown Jenkintown. You can walk to the train if you want to. It's pretty incredible. And the care in this home, being built in 1800, it's had some additions put on, is second to none. If you're looking for a historic home site in the middle of everything, you're going to be hard pressed to find something as spectacular as this. I mean, where everything kind of makes sense. You've got a lot of old world charm. You've got a ton of square footage, big detached garage. When you go into the floor plan, it's got a big center hall, but then all the rooms flow pretty well. Sarah, you're going through homes like this all the time with your clients. I mean, what do you see about this property that really sticks out to you?
I love that it does capture some of the, a lot of that historic charm, but it's also beautifully and thoughtfully updated. Like this isn't something that you have to come in and then drop a couple $100,000 to make it like to where you would want to live in it. Like it looks amazing.
It's an incredible property. It's going to be open on Friday night, January 16th, 4 to 7. There's a local festival going on right in the neighborhood. So you can go buy this house, then go to the festival to celebrate. $1.6 million. If you can't make it to the open house on Friday, January 16th from 4 to 7, click on the link. Sarah can get you in.
That's right.
Sarah, it's great having you back on the show here. I feel like we got our flow back. You want to follow Sarah. She's at Ty_Ty Time on Instagram. That's TY_TYTIME. You can follow me at TomToole3RD, at TomToole3rd. We'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.